Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mason Cox Show. Now, today is a catch-up 15. We've got a lot to cover here. We are covering Qatar. We're talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. We're talking about all things that have traveled with myself from NBA, NHL, NFL. It's been a pretty chaotic last few weeks. But as always, before we start the podcast, got to name the 7 platforms. We got YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, and Apple. Absolutely killing that, and there's more to come. There's more to come. Yes, you can hear that right. But without further ado, I will introduce the man, the myth, the legend that is Brayden Cocks. Welcome to the pod.
We mightn't have 7 platforms for too long, the way that Twitter's going. But where are you this week? In that in a bedroom? There's no pictures on the wall. I can't tell. So where are you this week?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna make you guess because I know you usually figure out by the beautiful just artwork behind me, but I've given you a blank white wall. So I'm in Austin, Texas at the moment at my brother's place, hanging out and just taking the week to get in shape, go work out and everything else because the off season's been quite busy. I've just got back from New York, Mexico City, Houston. It's just been an absolute whirlwind for the last few weeks, but it's been a great time. Pretty chaotic, all the things that have been going on, but I'm excited to just have a week to just chill out, which is going to be good.
I've been following your life on Instagram, which is just so depressing. And you seem to be doing everything. Is it still raining? It's raining and windy. You know another awesome thing?
Is Rachi still underwater? That's why I really want to know.
That's gone.
Tuca and Rachi still underwater.
It doesn't exist. If you jump on Google Maps, type in Rochester, it's not there anymore. It's done.
Prayers up.
What I will say is, since we last spoke, because of the heat and the rain, because we're getting those just perfect days of, like 25, 27 degrees in the morning, super muggy, and then thunderstorms in the arvo and a bit of wind, like all the stuff that you want. It's the perfect breeding conditions for mosquitoes. So we're seeing, a once in a lifetime infestation of mosquitoes going around, which is just so cool. Like it's the best thing to just add in there. But it looks, I don't want to sell it short. It's a really nice time over here. You're probably looking at our Instagrams like, oh, geez, I wish I was back home. And we're looking at you courtside, shooting vision of, KD draining threes and stuff. And, you probably have that FOMO that you're missing out on what we're going through, but it'll be here when you get back. Don't worry, don't stress. It's literally the middle of November and I'm wearing a hoodie. It's great over here. So talk enough of the depression that is Melbourne and Australia.
Melbourne, Australia sounds amazing right now. I can't wait to get back to summertime. It's going to be a great time.
Well, and every time we talk, there's like a new thing. So I'm sure next week, there'll be, I don't know.
Be a swarm of cicadas come through and just ruin all the crops in Australia or something.
Just finish us off. I like the wind. We need like a little tornado or something to come through. But talk us about your couple of weeks that you've been through. And so you wrapped up in New York, went to the New York Marathon. How'd you go? Did you end up finding a sign to hold?
I did. I won't take credit because I didn't make the sign, but I had a friend of mine make a sign that says, "Get a dog up yet." And if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that we've been trying to figure out what the hell those words mean. And I've yet to figure it out. Still doing the research, still R&Ding it. But he had an amazing sign that said, "Get a dog up here," which was hilarious. And I've got one of the funniest stories actually coming from the marathon. I haven't actually told you this, Brayden, but obviously you're holding the sign and everyone's got like their name on their shirt, so you're like, "Go John, go John." You have no idea who John is, but like you just cheer them on, right? Everyone's in this good mood. It's the New York City Marathon. Everyone's shut down for this. And we had like 3 or 4 signs. One's like a pizza box. Someone wrote Sharpie over and was like, "Aussie, Aussie, Aussie, oi, oi, oi," right? And then there was like, "Get a dog up, yeah." And there's a few Aussie like signs, right? So anyone that ran through that had like an Australian flag kind of shirt or something that said Australia on it, we went nuts as a group, as you can imagine, because there's a whole bunch of Australians involved. And there's one person specifically named Jezza. The reason I know that is because his name was on his shirt. So Jezza, he's running by and he's got an Australian shirt on. He's like, "Oh yes, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie." We're like, "Oi, oi, oi." And he runs past, and I'm at the back of our group. He like runs past and he looks at me and he goes, "Oi, is that Mason Cox?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, like, go Jezza, go." And he's like, he stops his run, backtracks back to me, Comes over, he goes, "Oh, I've got to take a video." He pulls like his phone out of his like little back pocket thing. And I don't know if you know what SWAS is, Brayden, but I'll tell you this: it's sweaty ass. And he's got SWAS, so like the camera is just fogged up, like you can't even see who it is in the camera.
Great.
And he's going selfie mode, and he's going, "Oh yeah, Coxie, you're a fucking flog. Go West Coast." He just darts. And he darts off into like the marathon again. It just leaves me hanging with this just huge cloud over my head. What the just happened? And that was honestly one of the highlights of the marathon was Jezza. I don't know where the video is. It's somewhere out there. If anyone can find Jezza, he's a West Coast Eagles fan, apparently hates me, but just ran a marathon from Australia. I'm assuming he's wearing an Australian shirt. Can we please get the vision of that? Because I guarantee you that will make the podcast next catch up. But that was my favorite part. And then obviously seeing Dan Churchill is obviously on the podcast recently. Check it out if you haven't listened to it. He was running for Sizzy Harvest, and he was doing that. So it was a crazy, crazy weekend, man. So much fun at the marathon. Kane Corns also ran. Didn't know he was running.
Late.
Looked up his time. Dude's running 2:40, 2 hours and 40 minutes. And if you don't know what marathon time is, anything under 3 hours is insanely good. And he's gone 2 hours and 40 minutes. I think his PB is 2 hours 35, which in that scenario, the New York City Marathon, like it was very hot on the day. So to run something that's only 5 minutes off your PB is very good. Obviously, he'd been training because he just ran from Adelaide to Melbourne, which is, just a casual stroll from my room, I want to say, doing charity work and stuff like that. So credit to the great man, Kane Corns. But the marathon was an absolute epic time, man. Like if you haven't done the marathon, even if you're not running it, to go there and just support is an amazing time. Abby Holmes was there, and she was supporting also, and she said it was one of the most amazing experiences she's had. So highly, highly recommend it if anyone's around the US or around New York. Definitely worth your time.
You have seen a lot of Australians over there, like I was saying. And did you see Paddy Dangerfield over there? He was at the NBA. You were at the NBA. Was it Knicks Nets game?
It's kind of crazy. I'll tell these two stories, right? So I'm here, New York City Marathon Sunday. It's Monday day off. Tuesday, we've got NHL. And I had a friend of mine, crazy story. So I'm wearing a Knicks hat because obviously I'm an absolute sellout. I'll talk about here in a little bit. I'm from Texas. Not much snow happens in Texas. And NHL, and I was like, oh, New York City, you've got you've got Rangers and you've got Islanders, the two inner city rivals, right? And I go to this game and it's just like insane. Then the owner's box, like the whole reason of me getting there was awesome and hilarious within itself. But down there, I got this like kind of 5-star amazing experience with some amazing people. And just hockey is unreal. Like I don't know, like I know it's not a big sport in Australia, but if you ever get a chance to go watch a hockey game live in the US or something like that, it is crazy. Like how fast the puck is flying, and like they have pads, don't get me wrong, but it's like you can get absolutely knocked out from any direction at any time, and you're on skates. Like I'm the guy who goes skating and just is like holding on to the rail for dear God life. Like it is just not a pretty sight. I look like a dumb giraffe that just like found his baby legs and is trying to figure out what ice is. And it's crazy what these guys are able to do. Awesome experience, don't get me wrong. But back to what you're saying, NBA, got to meet Patty Mills, Paddy Dangerfield, Ben Simmons, and just see them up close, see KD doing his thing up close on the got to go before the game and see them all warm up and everything else, which was awesome. Like just some of the guys, it's kind of weird because you kind of look at them on TV and everyone's like, oh, these people are massive humans. And just standing next to KD, I'm sitting there going, I'm taller than this guy. Maybe I picked the wrong profession. So yeah, it's unique, but meeting them was awesome. Patty Mills, absolute legend. Chatted to him for a bit, did a bit of a jersey swap, which was cool. And he's just like, I don't know, he's got the most just wholesome vibe to him. And I think it definitely is an aura that people pick up on. And just chatting to him, he's just so like calming, so nice, so like kind of nurturing towards others that I just feel like he's Australia's perfect image. Like it was Ash Barty and now she's kind of retired. But from a sporting perspective, the people that are still playing right now, I feel like Patty Mills represents the country better than anyone else out there at the moment. And it's credit to him, man. He's an awesome dude. Just had a brief chat with him about life and everything else and what's going on. And had some friends that knew him and his wife through some Australians that live over there. And awesome. It was such a good day. And KD dropped 30. He dropped a triple-double, KD, as he does. And the Brooklyn Nets kind of smashed him, and that was a game they really needed. So it's been Unique. Brooklyn's been a very interesting place this year with Kyrie Irving and everything else going on over there. So I think it was is very much a relief just to get a win after all the chaos that's been on their kind of front doorstep throughout the week and everything else. So it was an awesome experience, man. Lifetime just makes me realize my life is absolutely ridiculous, like beyond belief. And I have no idea how I got here. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm having a damn good time doing it. That is for sure.
I thought Bernard Tomic was Australia's representation on a global platform. Okay, we'll go with Paddy Mills.
I think Paddy Mills got to beat just Paddy Mills just a tad,
that much. You glossed over at you were in the owner's box at the NHL. Why was everyone rolling the red carpet out for you? So you went from like college basketball to Australia and became an AFL player, which they would have no idea what the hell that is. And now they're rolling out the red carpet and you're on the sidelines, like within an arm's length of KD, you're signing, you're getting like a jersey swap. Like if you were to jersey swap with any other person outside of Paddy Mills, he'd be like, why am I getting this scrubs like jersey? Like what the hell is this? So like what's the deal? Why are you like royalty over there? You went to NHL, NBA, NFL on the sidelines in the owner's box. How'd you get in the owner's box? What's the deal?
It was through a connection I had through university, and met another lady whose dad was a like 50-year member of Collingwood. And biggest sweetheart, and she essentially was the connection in, and then it was awesome. Like some of the people I was sitting next to, I won't name names, but really really cool people. Ended up having like drinks at a bar with them after, just randomly, because I feel like these celebrities sometimes it's just nice to not be known by someone. I had no idea who these people were, and apparently they're kind of like on some big TV shows and stuff in the US, and we're leaving the place and they're like, well, what are you doing? I was like, no, I'm just literally going to go around the corner to a bar and meet up with some friends and have a beer and just hang out and then maybe take the subway home. They're like, oh, can we join you for a beer? And I was like,
really?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah, we rocked into the place and it was like, these people are just so lovely. They're just so nice, you know? And it's just, I think you break that barrier of like people kind of being like, oh my God, like it's so-and-so, you know? And it was really cool just to kind of get to know people on a human level rather than the persona of someone beyond, you know, just their character they play on TV.
And you said I keep saying that you're next to KD because it is pretty cool that you're next to KD and you sized him up by the sounds of it. Do you reckon you could go one-on-one with some of these guys? You reckon you still got it?
Oh, that's yeah, definitely, Brayden. Duh, of course. KD's, I mean, just Kevin Durant. I mean, you know, drop the triple-double on the Knicks.
You just have to be tall,
There's
right?
no chance.
That's all there is to it. Don't you just have to be tall?
I think, yeah. I mean, everyone says that. Everyone's like, oh, you're tall, man. Don't be a waste of height. You better play ball, bro. And I'm like, no. I'll play AFL. And I'm not going to explain to you what it is. So it's, I think it's one of those things like in the NBA, I feel like if you watch NBA, you know this, defensive rebounding, not really a thing, right? So offensive rebounding. It's like, you just get there, everyone just kind of flows back after someone takes a shot. Not many people try to get the rebound, you know, where that was where I did my best work. I was people might call it the deli, you know, the real grunt player who just does all the tough, you know, tough calls and plays and everything like that. I was the guy that would, every single shot went up, I would try to come down with a rebound rather than just like jogging back. And I think that would be my only valuable resource to be playing in the NBA. Skill set wise, could not make a layup. I could dunk. That's about it. But I don't think I'd be able to keep up with some of the guys I was watching play over the weekend. They are just absolute freak athletes. And how much time and effort they put into their skill and craft, I think it's well past my days. Someone did ask me, they're like, oh, you think once you finish like footy, you'd be able to go to the NBA and play? And I was like, I'm 31. Like,
just finish off at the NBA.
Walk into the NBA, like, why not? I was like, I would love to be a water boy for the Australian national team. Now that we've planted that seed, and I want to see that thing grow because I want to get the Olympic rings on my arm somewhere. I want to be able to be like, I was part of the Olympics, guys. Like, how awesome is this?
Would you get the Olympic rings if you were just a water boy?
That would be my first tattoo, the Olympic rings. if I was the water boy for any sport. Actually, I'm not even going to limit it to basketball. I'm going to say any Australian sports out there. If the swimmers and divers need, a water boy there for me to go to the Olympics and be involved, I will be that guy. I will be that guy. So if anyone knows any Australian national team members that are going to the Olympics here coming up, please get them in contact with me so I can figure out this whole tattoo situation.
We will jump into the NFL because I was saving this for last because you are a massive trader. Rocking around the NFL sidelines with an Eagles jersey on instead of the Texans. What's the deal?
It was tough. Like the Eagles hosted me on the day, right? Which Eagles have some Australians on their team. Aaron Sitball's got Jordan Mailata, two Australians, and then they got one on the practice squad. And then they were playing the Texans, who had Cam Johnson as the other punter for the other team. So the NFL is being represented by a lot of Australians. Obviously, in the punting world, that's massive at the moment with Pro Kick Australia doing things in the university side of things and also on the professional side of things. So I had this thing kind of connected up to go over there and hang out with some of the Australians, which was awesome. Loved it. So good. The awkward moment was the fact that I was hosted by the Eagles, which everyone knows NFL is like the biggest rivalry in NFL is like Dallas versus Philly Eagles. And growing up in Dallas, you would be shot. And that might almost be quite literal being in Texas. If you wore an Eagles shirt in Dallas, it is a very, very much passionate thing they are about. And they had a guy named Fletcher Cox on the Eagles, and I was kind of like, oh, well, this is interesting. And they gave me a Fletcher Cox jersey, and got to go meet some of the teams and stuff and meet him, he was an absolute legend, like the nicest guy ever. And it was just funny to me that, I felt like the biggest trader on the day, just being, and so many of my Dallas friends were just like, how dare you? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. You're wearing an Eagles jersey at an Eagles. Why would you even go to an Eagles game? Like, oh, this is ridiculous, man. Like, just furious. And I told them until the day the Cowboys get me field access and sideline tickets to a game, I will be a fan and supporter of whatever team wants to give me that.
So you can be bought just so easy. Just flick you a free jumper.
100%. A
couple of tickets.
So easily. It's not even funny.
Moving on from that, you have done a lot of stuff over there. And one thing that was really interesting to me was I saw you had a couple of posts about the midterm elections. And I'm sure you would have been part of the big red wave that unfortunately didn't eventuate. So you went over there and you voted?
I didn't actually vote because I don't live there. I wasn't able to vote. I don't actually have even a driver's license in Texas anymore. So I did get an email from Victoria Election Committee saying I am prepared and ready to go for this month's election, which would be very interesting. I will dive into that at some point in my life, I'm sure, maybe after there's a winner and loser. But my experience with this midterm, obviously, massive thing on the bill is the abortion rights. Texas, everyone knows, I feel like there's the big thing with abortion in Texas and their stance on it. And it was just so interesting. So to give you an idea of what it was like, we show up, right? And I feel like this is straight up, and I said this, I felt like this straight up was a conflict of interest from the first step out of the car. I was like, are we at a church? She was like, yep. And I was like, wait, hold on. So you're going to essentially vote on abortion at a church that's very much against it? Okay, whatever. It's Texas. We move on, right? So we walk up. It's this lovely lady, there's a long line. This lovely lady, she looks at me and looks at my friend. She goes, excuse me, do you have all your registration stuff? Are you ready to go? Everything else? I said, yeah. Like she's voting. I'm just here for support. And she goes, I must ask, are you carrying any weapons? And I was like, I looked at my friend and I was like, you have these moments, I feel like in the US, you're like, did I really just get asked that?
Yeah.
she's legit. She's like, because obviously you can have, concealed carries here. And I was just looking at her, I was just like wearing Lululemon and like a tank top, I think. And I was just like, lady, if I was strapped up with a gun, believe me, you would see it. But unfortunately, Lululemon, I don't think they come with an accessibility strap holder on the side. So that was interesting. And then we sat in line and I tried to explain to people what Australian politics is like, which is absolutely impossible. Sometimes I think it's just as bad, if not worse at times, than American politics.
Do they don't have the sausage sizzle over there? No sausage sizzle?
They don't. I was furious. I was like, what is this? Like, they didn't have any kind of any kind of positivity, coming out of the place. It was just like everyone was just like depressed being there. Where I feel like in Australia, they're like, at least I have something to look forward to after I vote. I get a nice little sausage sizzle, and it's delicious. And it's part of the culture of electing, and it's like probably what more people look forward to than actually electing someone.
It's the one thing that we can all agree on. Like all parties in Australia, you get the sausage. It's like everyone can get around that.
I must ask this though, because I've never voted in Australia. Now, do they have the obnoxious people outside of the voter stations, like handing you pamphlets and having picket signs and saying like, vote for me? And you're going, I legit have never seen your face in my life.
Yeah. Oh, there's tons of them. And like they stand in front of you and like they try to get your attention and stuff. That I don't know. It's like I know who I'm voting for by the time I like roll in the door. If you're like going to ask me to adjust my morals within 15 meters of like the voting booth, it's just the weirdest. Like, but the whole thing is so weird with like the little pencil and the bit of paper and chuck it in the slot and stuff. It all feels so archaic. Like, I don't know why we don't. Surely we get an update sometime soon.
If it's electronic, that allows Russia to get involved.
Yeah,
we know what that can do.
Yeah. We're at the moment.
Wait, what happened? What happened to Trump? Trump's whole wave thought it was coming through. Thought it was going to be all Republican.
Yeah.
Must have had a little bit of a delay on the memo.
Yeah, it was. I actually saw a supercut from Fox News, which was just glorious because like everyone was like, yeah, very red wave. Is it going to be a red wave or is it a red tsunami? Oh, I reckon it's a red typhoon. We're going to, and they're like pumping it right up. Then when it didn't happen, they were like, oh, the fake news media, I don't know where they were getting their poll results from. Like, this is clearly how it was going to pan out, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my God. I don't know. Like, they just must think that people don't have the internet or something. Like, how, like, I don't know what their thoughts are that it's like, we'll get away with this one. No one will remember. Like, you just said it.
Unreal, man. We'll jump in from one internet thing to another. And I'm very interested to chat about this because it is what I call a hot topic. Very hot. Hot take. And that is the old Bluebird, the old Twitter. What's going on?
He's struggling.
What's happening?
Yeah.
It has been an absolute chaos. Now, I'll give a little bit of background to this because I've done a little bit of research on this and it's been absolutely insane, right? So obviously now you can buy a verification. You could. Now it's been suspended because of what I'm about to say. Essentially, you used to be able to buy an $8 verification, right? A little blue tick, and you'd be verified on Twitter. And one of the crazy things that made this kind of go away and suspend was someone paid $8 to verify an account that was not this official account, right? For a company called Eli Lilly. And Eli Lilly is a producer of insulin, right? So obviously healthcare, very big, very important. And they tweeted out on this $8 verified Twitter that we are excited to announce insulin is free. Now you can imagine if a company all of a sudden that was making billions of dollars now all of a sudden goes, oh, main product, we're just going to now give it away for free. Would not go so well. Their stock plummeted 16 billion, yes, with a B, $1 billion. Stock plummeted because some dude that paid $8 for a verified account tweeted this out and everyone lost it. And not only that, but some of their competitors, the shares dropped 4% and 3.2% of their other competitors too. So for this whole industry, this one tweet just completely demolished a ton of money off their accounts. And it was just insane. So I don't know if that's the greatest investment ever. Maybe if you caught wind of this beforehand to be like, yo, I'm just going to, play the odds here of this company tanking for $8. That would be probably the best $8 for a $16 billion drop. I'm not really sure how to go about that one, but pretty insane that's happened. But Elon Musk, obviously, he's now suspended this whole Twitter verification thing. And it's been kind of crazy. I don't know. I know Diddy threw his, Diddy had a birthday party or something. So maybe Elon was hanging there when this whole thing happened. I'm not really sure. But he's gone nuts because he's fired like a whole bunch of top executives. And it says here, including the departure of the company's head of trust and safety, Yoel Roth, and chief of information security, which are two people I feel like would be pretty important whenever it comes to these things, among others, and others involved in infrastructure, trust, and safety. So he's essentially thrown everyone out and said, anyone that has to deal with Twitter being a reputable source, you're gone for good. And I'm not really sure kind of what to think about Twitter. Is it going to be around in the next month or two, or is this going to completely fold and he's going to absolutely tank this company?
$16 billion is a fair amount of money, and it's pretty easy to manipulate. So you're going to get a lot of companies that are scared and pulling out of Twitter. You're going to have a lot of famous people that are expected to like buy these verifications, and they're going to like question whether it's worth it. So they're going to jump off. So you're driving the important people off your app, which is pretty crazy, company strategy. It's like, oh, all the rich and famous people, we don't want them. We want the guys that give us $8 that have a fake display picture and a made up name that spread like hate and like fake news and stuff. But for people that are just saying like, oh, well, like laughing about it, and it's like, oh yeah, Twitter's dead or whatever. It's more concerning than just like shallow, oh yeah, well, whatever, Twitter's dead, like no big deal. Because this $16 billion loss from a company just shows the power of it. And if you think, even if you go back 1 or 2 years, like where were we getting all of our COVID information? Like where were we keeping up to date with stuff like that? Where do we keep up to date with news? Where do we keep up to date with weather events? Where do we keep up to date with any of that stuff? It's all through Twitter. We rely on it so heavily for information. And I think that people are probably underestimating how big a deal this is going to be because, you don't go to Facebook to figure out like where the globe is at in terms of like COVID. You don't go to Instagram to figure out that the Queen died or that, all these like things are happening. You go to Twitter for your source of information, and you can you pick and choose who you trust to give you like the correct and honest information. But like to just tank that, and there's not going to be a replacement. So who's the replacement? Yeah. We all go back to reading the Herald Sun or, listening to the news at 6 p.m. or what, like, how did we get news?
Don't say crazy things like that. Yeah. Right?
How did we get news before this? So, like a whole bunch of people are, the news gets most of their stuff off Twitter and Reddit anyway. So it's going to be a big deal if it does keep going in the way that it's going. And it's just going to be interesting to see what big business is going to do. Because I feel if they just start pulling out, it's going to be almost the beginning of the end. But yeah, he's not thinking through a lot of these things because he's clearly like this verification thing. He just thought up and implemented straight away, and it was catastrophically bad. And it's like it sounds like he's going to do a lot of things in the coming weeks. And it's like if they're as like ill thought out and as rushed and poorly implemented as the Twitter verification thing. Like I feel like there can only be a few more of those. Like there's 450 million monthly users on Twitter. So it's not like people downplay it as the smaller platform compared to like a Facebook or a Instagram or whatever.
Yeah, Twitter's always a place to have like breaking news. I feel like it's the person that tweets it first, is like the first person that kind of starts this swarm of people trying to find out information. And that's going to now be essentially questioned whether or not it's actually real information nowadays. So, we had the big problem of Facebook putting out fake information and people doing all kinds of crazy things to try to manipulate voters in the polls and all this kind of stuff now. And like Twitter's now going to go down that direction. Yeah. Which, as we all know, and Facebook's copped a massive beating over the last week whenever it comes to their shares and employees and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see, obviously these social media platforms, they come up and then they go down and then they might come back, and think about like the MySpaces and stuff like that. And it's like maybe Twitter is going to be one of those things we look back at in 5 years, 10 years and go, remember tweeting? We're like, what was up with that? That's kind of weird. And it's, I think the next month is a real telltale sign of the future of that company, no doubt. And what this man, Elon Musk, does with them, who knows? It's going to be something that's going to be a hot topic for a while. So we'll keep our eyes on that one, man.
It is the start of the week. People need some news to talk about around the water cooler. So what do you got for us and the water cooler chat?
All right. Now, obviously, everyone loves the water cooler chat. It's almost up there with Florida Man as one of the favorite parts of this whole thing. Now, I've done a bit of research into the old celebrity gossips and the tabloids and everything else, So I've got your water cooler chat ready to go. And to start off, we'll start hot Now I'm talking the hottest of hot actors, Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, the absolute just sexy man that is. Had his 48th birthday over the weekend. And he has got a unique thing to him. He's never dated a female over 25. He's 48, so that's kind of questionable, I think, almost there. But I will say that he's had some amazing guests there. There's a lot of people there. He had LeBron James, Bradley Cooper, Sir Mick Jagger, had Tobey Maguire, Jamie Foxx, Casey Affleck, all these kind of crazy people. Wesley Snipes, yo, what up, Wesley? What's up? And he had all these people there. So there's that. Also, another person who had their birthday. We love P. Diddy. You know him. You love him. P. Diddy, the crazy man that is. And he had some people, his 53rd birthday, so he's a little bit older, a bit more mature than old Leonardo. And I think he's dated someone over 25. So there's that. But Diddy had Jay-Z, Travis Scott, Mary J. Blige, Chris Brown, French Montana, MGK, all these people there now. Insane. Absolutely insane, right? And you love to see these photos of these people showing up. Everyone's in LA. Everyone's having a good time, party, and all this kind of stuff. And it's all a bit interesting. I want to ask you, actually, while we're on this, if you had a birthday party you had to go to, right? And you had to bring a celebrity to the birthday party, who would it be? Who would you choose?
I think someone like a Seth Rogen, the life of the party, doesn't mind a bit of the green stuff. So I'll have to tell him to... No, mate, it's not legal
Very
over
legal
here.
in America, by the way. I've found that out because everywhere I walk, I smell it. It's insane.
Stay away from it. You can't come back here. Asada's going to be waiting for you at the gate.
Other side of the road every time I see it.
I'll be like, mate, you can't bring that in here. It's not legal here yet. But yeah, I reckon he would have a fair few stories. Yeah. What about you?
I think I'd take Prince Harry. I was thinking about this earlier whenever I looked this up. And I was like, there's no more interesting man in the world right now than Prince Harry. That guy can create a headline by walking out the door. And I think just having him, everyone would just flock to figure out what his opinion is and what he's like in real person. Everyone would be very interested in meeting the man that is Prince Harry, where I can just float around in the background, just enjoy the drinks and the finger food. So that I think is the person I invite to the party. But so good to see all these people together. And it's kind of unique, man. I don't know why, but to see these actors and, sports people and everything else, it's cool to kind of see the who's who come together and see kind of which party do they go to? Do they go to Diddy's? Do they go to Leonardo's? Who's their homies,
who would you pick?
With? So,
who would you pick to attend? If Leo and Diddy sent you an invite for the same night, where would you go?
Yeah, Diddy. I'd go Diddy. Diddy would be so much better. I feel like he would throw a way better party. But Leonardo is the guy that did The Great Gatsby. So I feel like just because he was The Great Gatsby, he could throw a ridiculously good party. It's both of them are good, but I think I'll take Diddy. He would have a better lineup of singers, I think. Can you imagine that? It's like essentially a concert within itself. He would have every single person that's the who's who. As I said, you got Chris Brown there, French Montana, MGK, Mary J. Blige, Travis Scott, Jay-Z, or JZ, as you might say in Australia. I mean, can you imagine them all hanging out together and just being like, yo, let's just murder the stage and just have one of the best concerts ever, and no one will know out of it outside of this 100 people that are here.
I think I would go with Diddy just because I wouldn't want to get in Diddy's bad books. I think he could be a dangerous man if you just stood him up for his birthday. It's like, I thought I'd head out to Leo's. Thanks for the invite anyway, Didster. But it's going to have to be a hard pass. I don't think he'd take it that well.
You're on the nickname basis with Diddy?
The Didster.
All right, man, we'll move on to the next bit. So now I'm going to go a little bit, it's taken this is one of the biggest news of all the entertainment, so I have to cover it. It'd be a shame if I didn't. And it is a little bit depressing, but we're going to have to cover it because one of the Migos has passed away. And it's been a wild scenario because it happened about 2 days before it got to Houston. Now Takeoff, who's one of the three there, so they've got Takeoff, Quavo, Offset. Takeoff has unfortunately been killed, murdered essentially, which is just crazy to think. They were at a dice game. They ran out this bowling alley and he was kind of just in the background, I think, and someone had gotten an altercation and he was essentially there and got shot accidentally by someone else trying to shoot someone else. And he's passed away, which is kind of crazy. Migos was always kind of these kind of unique rappers that you felt like had a good time. Wasn't like, whenever they rapped and did things in the public and things, like they always had a smile on their face, I feel like, or like enjoyed the atmosphere and things like that, where all the other rappers kind of had to keep this like, oh, I'm cool, man. I don't want to smile because I'm too cool for this, I feel like they actually enjoyed it. And it was very unfortunate, man. It's kind of crazy, like being in Houston and how much it affected the people in Houston. And obviously Atlanta is where they're kind of known to be the representative of. And there's this whole like, there was like the New York City, LA kind of rivalry, like East Coast, West Coast kind of thing. There's now a little bit of beef between Atlanta and Houston because of essentially one of their representatives of Takeoff from Migos passing away and getting shot in Houston. There's a bit of beef now between the two. So it's a unique time, man. It was kind of like a bit like jarring being there, to be honest. And there's been people who have come out, said, they're peace with it and said, like they're remembrance of him and everything else and the amazing things he's done. And Cardi B's, married to Quavo, and they've kind of now gone off this thing to honor his life. And it's a pretty crazy thing that's happened, but I think we have to cover these things on the podcast because as much as we do love having a laugh, this is a water cooler chat. Something you can say is, hey, Takeoff, did you hear about this? What's your thoughts and opinions on it?
What is Houston like? Does Houston have a real sketchy side to it or what? What's the deal?
Every place has a sketchy side to it, I'd say. Houston is unique. I wouldn't say it's sketchy. I've been to sketchier places, that's for sure. But I think the situation he was in was very unique in a sense of, obviously I have no idea who was there or anything along those lines, but I think whenever you blocked off, because it's illegal to gamble in Texas, so to block off a bowling alley to do a dice game, and obviously there was, I'm just assuming there was money involved and everything else, and that's probably where the altercation came from, was someone didn't agree with what happened in a dice game, and who knows what it might be, and he was essentially just crossfire in the situation. And there's sometimes, you come to the realization that no matter how big and rich and famous and everything you are, there's everyone's still human at the end of the day. And I think looking back, he'd probably have the idea and the mentality that he was in the wrong place, wrong time, and wishes he wasn't there doing what he was doing.
You survived, you're here, and I'm glad you are, because right now we are going to get into the news, because this is what people want to know. And we're staying in the rap game. Because Snoop Dogg, D-O-double-G, raises his blunt roller's salary to $50,000 due to inflation. Yes, rapper Snoop Dogg has a full-time employee that rolls his blunts for him. And for people that don't know, blunts are like little marijuana cigarettes. So this guy, he went from 40 to about 50 grand. So he got a fair increase. I don't know if you know how to do it over there. You probably don't know how to do it, to be honest, do you? You a bit of a clean skin.
It's like, your silence is deafening, Mason. No, I don't have any idea.
So you probably couldn't.
50 grand, I'm willing to learn.
Yeah. So you probably at the moment you couldn't be Snoop D-O-double-G's full-time blunt roller, but you stick to it.
In USD is almost how much I'm getting paid in AFL, I feel like. So maybe I'm in the wrong industry. I don't know.
If you put your mind to it, I reckon you can achieve anything, Mason. So just chin up, mate, and you'll get there. Apparently, it's not an uncommon thing for a rapper to have someone in their camp that's just hired to do this. And Howard Stern asked if it's legit, if it's a real thing. And this is what Snoop said my boy Seth Rogen, he's actually on the same podcast. He was on the Howard Stern show with Snoop Dogg, and this is what Snoop had to say.
That's his JOB, his occupation. On his resume, it say, "What do you do?" I'm a blunt roller.
I roll for Snoop.
PBR, professional blunt roller.
How do you figure out a salary for this guy?
That's somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 a year.
It's his JOB. His occupation is a PBR, a professional blunt roller. So if you're out there, you're looking for jobs, might have got negatively affected by COVID or whatever. Yeah, there's something out there. Start practicing. It's only on the way up. Like, only on the way up.
Seth Rogen might need one of these, so there's a chance he might be able to get Seth across the line.
He did say that he might actually save money if he was thinking about all the time that he'd wasted rolling his own. And Seth's got he's fully into it, and he makes his own ashtrays and stuff. He's a very talented man, Seth Rogen. Now, moving on, Rainn Wilson. You might know Rainn Wilson as Dwight Schrute from The Office. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but yeah, pretty big. He's a pretty big character, the US version of The Office. Now, Rainn Wilson has changed his name to Rainfall Heatwave Extreme Winter Wilson, sounds like Melbourne, to protest climate change. This is what what's his name? This is what Rainfall Heatwave Extreme Winter Wilson.
Make sure you get it right. Make sure you get it right. Respect for the name.
He wants everyone out there to come up with like a little name that's got like climate action wording to it. And these were some examples that he gave from.
Before we get into that, I've got one actually. If you don't mind, it's called Meta World Peace. Is that taken yet?
That's a great one.
Is that still on?
This is going to be real interesting for us because I listen to some of these names, and I want you to try and come up with one for your name or my name, our last names. It's going to be a bit of a stretch, but here's some that Rainfall came up with.
Cardi, the Arctic bee melting. Jack Black. Carbon is killing us. Typhoons are increasing. Burrell. Amy Polar bears are endangered. Harrison, why not drive an electric Ford? Samuel, Earth's getting hot as L. Jackson.
Now, there's some pretty good ones in there. He's quite creative with them. I had a little think about our last name, and it's pretty hard to... It's like Mason climate deniers are Cox type thing, you know? Like we have to go like the insulting route. Like, what do you have?
I'm gonna go Mason. Recycle your cans, Cox.
That's not.
I think that's pretty good. I'd say
it's got a
little alliteration in there.
It's got to be a play on words. There's got to be some kind of pun, like if it was Mason,
stop chopping down all tall timber, Cox.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. Yeah, I think
got it. I nailed it.
No, I think we should definitely put it out to our audience to see if they can come up with something better. I like that you tried. The effort was there.
I've given it an effort. It was there. The execution, not great.
And moving into our last one, we have a Florida man. Now, this one's a little sketchy. It's not a full-blown story per se. It's a little people don't really have there's no ending to this. It's still open. It's like an open investigation. So short story, Florida man caught eating cheesecake in his underwear in the Everglades. So there's a video of a man who's being caught eating a cheesecake in the Florida Everglade wetlands in the US, and it's gone viral. So what's the hoverboat with the big old fan on the back? What's that?
Fan boat.
Fan boat, yeah.
You wouldn't believe the hoverboat with a fan on the back is called a fan boat.
just about as creative as you are when coming up with names. So the video has been shared on Twitter, but it is how it sounds. It's a guy on a fan boat and he's cruising out in the Everglades at nighttime, in the dead of night, pitch black. He's got a big spotty on and there's a guy in the distance and he gets right up to him. Now this man's just in his underwear and he's doing just that. He's eating a cheesecake. I mean, normal behavior, but this is the interaction between the two.
Hey, buddy, you all right? Yeah. Are you just eating cheesecake in the middle of the Everglades? Yeah.
Okay, so innocent enough, right? What are you doing? You eating a cheesecake? Yeah. And then he just runs. So that happens, right? That interaction happens, and he just sprints off into the darkness. So then, obviously, there's a lot of concern.
Blair Witch Project.
It looked very Blair Witch, and so he just sprints off into the Everglades with his cheesecake in his underwear, and it's sparked a bit of concern online that like people are like, do you know how dangerous like the Everglades are? We've had plenty of stories on the Florida man where there's alligators and stuff out there just ready to attack, snakes and what have you. So yeah, people are kind of trying to figure out who this man is, where he's come from, and where he went to, but it's still very much open-ended. So if you've seen a man, I don't know, you're closer than I am. If you see a man running around eating a cheesecake, surely he's finished the cheesecake by now, but he's wearing those like tidy whities that aren't very tight and they're not very white. They're like brownie.
Shit staying out the back of
Yeah.
them.
They're like brown, I don't know, Lucy brownies.
What a crazy thing to like being a fan about in the middle of Everglades, which to describe to people, the Everglades is literally just one massive swamp, like just a swamp full of alligators. And you just rock up through one of these like canals. There's just a dude chilling, eating cheesecake. Of all things, like why cheesecake? I don't even know. I can only imagine where the rest of the actual cake was, but I respect the man, of the Florida man. But I can only put myself in the position of finding that guy going, what the absolute F is going on here? And the fact that he just darted off into the Everglades, I can almost guarantee you that man was never seen again. Never will be seen again.
Yeah, well, he had a real look on him like, this guy in the fan boat's going to try nick my cheesecake. So he was very guarded about his cheesecake, and yeah, off he went. So watch this space. I'll chuck the video up on our Instagram and definitely check it out because it's one of the weirder things that you'll see on the internet, and that's saying something because there's some weird shit out there. But that's this week's Florida man.
Always ridiculous stories coming out of that place. One day we'll have to visit. I think we'll have to visit, maybe make our own Florida man. Maybe we'll make the news. Us two as the Florida man.
The Florida Man Diaries. I like that. I reckon if we get a bit of sponsorship, get over there in the next off season, do a Florida Man trip. I'm sure we'll see
do
some
a whole podcast
stuff
on Florida Man. Do a whole just back-to-back Florida Man stories. Just absolutely, that'd be a great one. Anyway,
you know those like when you go to like somewhere like Bangkok or something, or like Thailand or whatever, you meant to try and fit in with what you're wearing. You don't want to be wearing like a big, like your fanciest clothes rolling down the street. You stand out like a sore thumb. When we go to Florida, because it's just a matter of when at this point in time, what do we wear to fit in? Like I want to fit in because I don't want to roll in. Like when I wear a beanie on the podcast, I get Americans being like, what's he doing wearing a winter hat? And of course you call it a winter hat over there because you just call things exactly what they are. But like, what do we wear over there? Some kind of flannel, or what's the deal?
The fact that the age range over there is probably like 75% would be like 60 plus. I think we have to wear what you would expect old men on vacation to wear. And I think that's like the khakis with like the zipper around the knees. Whenever it gets too hot, you just zip it off and you're like ready to go. You've got the fanny pack, you've got the khaki like jacket or whatever it is, and then you've got the full brimmed hat. I think it's that's kind of what we need. We need to go full like old man tourist.
I like the floral shirt with like the buttons undone way too far down that it like you can start to see the top of the real tight beer belly. Like I like that. I can get around that.
Something sexy about that. Well,
flip flops.
Speaking of sexy, I've got to go into this, Brayden, because our next segment we've got is the dating segment. Everyone, we've been slacking on this a bit, obviously. And a lot of people have been asking me, Brayden, how's the dating life going? Is there any updates? Are you married yet? Are you in love, kids? What are we talking?
You expect me to believe that you over in the States, all these people are coming up to you in the street. Tell me about Brayden's dating life. I need to know.
You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. Everyone's interested. There's ladies all over Hinge asking for you. It's just insane over here. I mean, you would murder it over here. Yeah. The thick Australian accent, I'm telling you, chunk that on. Whoo, ladies.
Do girls ask you if you, do you put on the American accent? Do you put on the Australian accent? Are you a bit of a hybrid? Are you a bit, are you a bit foreign over there, a bit exciting? Are they like, ooh, who's this tall drink of water from Australia? And you're like, g'day, mate. How the bloody hell are ya?
I will say this, the Aussie accent does boast a bit better in America. But I will, as soon as they find out I'm actually American, it goes from very interested to I don't care very quickly.
Yeah, I like that. So are you rolling on Hinge over there or what? Did we talk about this? I think we glossed over it on the last podcast. How's Hinge going over there?
I'm off it, man. No, I'm not
come on.
Dan tried to get me on it all. Dan tried to get me on all this stuff because he heard my sob story with me and my singleness. And no, I've been too busy, man. I've been jumping around from place to place. I haven't really had a chance to even see anyone else outside of the people I've wanted to see. So unfortunately, now I'm not on the social apps or whatever you want to call them over here. Maybe when we get back to Australia, maybe we'll get like a sponsor that's a dating app. We can, play around with this a little bit, and then maybe we'll
100%.
double date podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And
double date podcast.
I think we should we could branch off into like a dating podcast, and I reckon we should get. I was talking about this. I reckon we should get on like not like a relationship
dating
expert,
specialist?
Dating specialist. Yeah, a dating specialist to be like, this is where you're going wrong, because I'm sure there's at least a dozen easily identifiable things that we're doing terribly.
It's definitely more than a dozen.
Go through them and just be like, maybe try this and maybe try that, and see how we go. Because at the moment it's horrific. And I tell you what, you're just saying that you're off the apps. I'm going to delete them, like fully delete them.
Wow.
But the freaky part about it is, I feel like that's in 2022, 22, going into 2023.
Almost done.
It's almost a sign of like just giving up, which is, it's kind of depressing. Like, because if I don't have the dating apps, I won't go on dates. I'm not just going to meet someone out in the street and be like, hey, like old school, what are you doing? Are you seeing anyone? Do you want to go on a date? Let's grab a drink. That just doesn't happen. So like, to delete the apps, it's a real sense of giving up. But I tell you what, I'm going to do a little focus on me, because I feel like I've gone away from that. I'm caught. I'm halfway between, I'm doing nothing. I'm here fucking spiders at the moment. I don't know if you can you reverse engineer that saying? At the moment, I'm fucking spiders. And I need to not fuck so many spiders. So I'm going to delete the apps, and I'm going to replace that time into myself. I'm going to start going for a jog. Because look at this. Look at those chins. I got so many chins going on. I got
dad bods. The
dad bod is like, I always say like,
it's a new thing. Apparently it's sexy now.
No, but it's not, because I think it's like, when people say, oh yeah, attracted to dad bods, I think it's like someone that's in good shape and doesn't have like abs. Like, I think that's all it is. But so I reckon there's like high definition TV. So, high definition, standard definition, zero definition. That's this guy. And so I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to do some PD, some personal development, and then jump back in. So if we can align that with our podcast of like, I delete the apps, I just get absolutely jacked and come out ready to rock in 2023. Because I feel like if I turn
2023 is going to be your glow up year.
But yeah, I have said that for 20 years now. So if I can get it going, you can't go out for a freaking jog here because you're going to get hit by lightning in the middle of summer. But I'm going to do it somehow. I'm going to find a way. Maybe I'll start posting on Instagram. I don't post on Instagram ever. Maybe I'll do that to hold myself accountable or whatever. But then I run the risk of I post a photo of me looking real fat, and then I just don't do it. And then there's just a photo of me looking real fat on Instagram.
You pick the best, mate. You got to pick the best ones. Everyone's living this, everyone's living this false lifestyle on social media. It's always their best photos. You meet people in person sometimes, they don't even look like anything in their photos. And that's happened before. But I want to go back to this because you talked about the dating apps. And actually, this brought something up that I was thinking about, or actually saw while I was out the other night. I saw a girl who was just, I don't know if you ever met anyone at a bar, right? And they're just standoffish from everyone. They just don't want anything to do with anyone, right? Yeah. This girl, I kid you not, was sitting on a couch and people would talk to her and she just pushed them off, didn't want to do with them. And she was gone on. I was sitting there looking at her and I was like, oh, this is interesting. She's semi-attractive female. And I was like looking at her and she was on Hinge and flicking through Instagram in the middle of a bar full of people whenever guys were hitting on her there. And I was like, in my mind, it got to the point I go, is this society where even whenever we're in the situation of being able to meet new people and everything else, we're still living in the world of being able, the easiness of just swiping right or clicking a heart or whatever it is, that we don't even want to actually meet someone out. We're more interested in actually the convenience of finding people through an app and a photo and knowing exactly whether I want that or not, and just swiping through it or whatever it is, that we don't even want to acknowledge the people that might actually be there in front of us already. And it was so interesting. I just got into this like whole kind of psychological thinking of like where the society has gone and how it's all like that. And legit, this girl was like going through that. And then she started looking through every single person that had watched every single story of hers to see if there's like any guy she could hit up. And it was just wild. I was like, what is happening in front of me? I was like, it was a whole kind of like
it's good that you were,
I was watching happen in front of me.
It's good that you were staring at her from a distance.
It was entertaining for me, I must say.
But I will say that if that's like a rabbit hole you start going down, then it's even more of a rabbit hole when you start thinking dating apps don't give a shit about you finding your soulmate. They're specifically designed to farm your data and sell it on to bigger companies. So they know your like height, your preferences, they know your hobbies, they know everything that you enjoy. They have photos of you. They like know they know your age. They got your phone number. They got your email address. They know every single thing about you. And we're just sitting there thinking like, oh, it's good they created Bumble so I can meet my soulmate. It's like, they couldn't give a shit. They're just selling all your information to make billions of dollars, you dickhead. Anyway, that's a rabbit hole you can easily go to.
Had a few long nights there, Brayden, have we?
Oh, how good is it? Let's jump into the footy chat because I know that all the fans want to stop hearing us talk about being lonely and get into the footy chat. Now, I don't know if you even know, but since you've been away, they've talked about the Magic Round. Now, I don't know if they're going to call it Magic Round moving forward into next year, but they're going to have this round in Adelaide. They're going to give the clubs a little bit of the doshka to pretty much play this carnival over in South Australia. There's going to be, I believe, 6 games played at Adelaide Oval and then a couple games played at other ovals around, the Adelaide area. They were talking about the Barossa Valley. Go out there and have a drop, roll straight into the winery after the game for a couple of post-match waters. And so what do you think about one? I don't really, to be honest, I haven't looked into it that much. Like, I don't get it. Have you heard about this? Like, what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
I have heard about it. I think it's the AFL's way of sacking the preseason game, which no one really cares about and is always just kind of like a bit of a, it's a scratch match that like no one gives a crap whether or not someone wins or not. It used to be a little bit of a thing. They used to have like the JLT or the NAB Cup or whatever they called it, where now it's just gotten to the point where it's an extended scrimmage. Everyone gets a run. Everyone gets to play a little bit of time and all that. So I think they've got to the point now they realize that's just not worth their while. So they've started to create this extra round that goes somewhere and, it gives a bit of light and a bit of media attention to some smaller places. Now, do I love the fact that Adelaide was the first place they picked? No. I would have loved to see in the NT. NT, man, would have been awesome. Can you imagine showing that part of the world? Would have been amazing to actually have someone who doesn't get a lot of footy, doesn't have a team within that actual state, to be able to have them host it and be able to get them on national television would be awesome. Like Adelaide does get games already. They've got 2 teams there. Queensland's got teams. Obviously, Sydney's got teams. Victoria and West Coast. But Northern Territory, one of the biggest states and territories that is in Australia, doesn't have anything. And it would be so cool to be able to go up there. And obviously, there's Tassie too down there. But I just think there's a lot more. Like there's games that are played in Tassie, and Tassie has a representation really in the IFL. But the Northern Territory just doesn't. And it's such a cultural thing. I think it was just an awesome opportunity the AFL had. And I'm sure there's probably money, and that's probably why Adelaide got it, is because Adelaide probably paid them cash to be able to bring, people there and to bring the media and attention and be able to get fans to come and all that kind of stuff, to be able to sell hotels and bring, money and infrastructure into the city and the state. But I would have loved to have seen the Northern Territory would have loved to sit there and played a game with like Uluru in the backdrop or something like that, and just been like iconic Australia. But yeah, Adelaide's not a bad alternative. It would be interesting to see how they pan it all out. I'm not really sure how they're going to play that many teams in one state. You talk about going to the Barossa Valley. I know rugby did something similar, and they played a lot of teams at one stadium. The stadium's like field was essentially just garbage by the time they finished it because so many people were playing on that field. And if you imagine, like, what if it rains like the first game, and then there's like 5 other games on that field for the weekend? It's like that field will be impossible to play on for the rest of the season. So there's interesting kind of dilemmas that come up with it. It's going to be interesting how the AFL handles it. Be unique in that sense. There is extra cash coming into the clubs, I know, and essentially players are getting paid as they would for an extra game into the season structure, which is good. We still don't get paid nearly as much as we should comparatively to others, sports around the world. We get paid 28%, and the NBA gets paid 48%. So you tell me who's in the wrong. Thank you, AFL, for all the money. And yeah, I think it's just it's a unique thing over there. I think to bring that kind of, I guess, nationwide media attention to one place is going to be pretty cool. And I think the thing I look forward to the most is some of the smaller towns being able to be put on the map, whether it is a Barossa Valley, maybe Kangaroo Island or something like that. Would be cool to have like a game down there. I think it's a great opportunity for them to be able to show some of the beautiful places that Australia has and be able to link it in with AFL games. And that would be just so cool to see and be able to have on a national level to be able to show the rest of the country.
It would be cool. I assume it would be a logistical nightmare to, you'd have to look at the facilities, and like you said, like Adelaide Oval is probably one of the only ovals that might be able to handle like these 6 games in one weekend. Like, it's a pretty heavy workload, but it doesn't get used for that much stuff outside of footy. Whereas like a lot of other stadiums are pretty busy, like schedule wise. So maybe that.
Yeah, you think of places like GWS has the horse show and has the animal show they've got to put on there. So it's just
Metricon always seems to have like monster trucks or something going on up there.
Absolute F.
But then you got to have like, like hotels to be able to house like a couple hundred athletes and like all of that. It'd be pretty hard. Do you know what time of year that this is going to be played? Does it all shuffle down, or is it a preseason thing?
No, I think it's in the middle of the season. I'm not 100% sure on the timing of it, but it is during season. So it'll be interesting, where teams stand, and flying everyone in. Like you said, I think the accommodation for clubs is going to be very unique. Being able to house all the different supporters all in one state, you're going to have to somehow spread them out. I don't know if they'll maybe do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe a Monday game or something in there to be able to try to extend the, the use of the ground over more days rather than just having it all in one day. I'm not really sure how they're going to go about it, but it's, it's one of those things we'll keep our eyes on, that's for sure. But the AFL's changing it up, trying to do something different, which I respect, but it's going to be unique to see kind of the stepping stones to get to this whole, extra round in Adelaide and in South Australia. And who knows, man, Tasmania might be next, our legends down there in Tassie that we love so much. Might be next. Who knows? So it's gonna be unique. I think if I'm playing in Tassie, hopefully it's earlier in the year rather than later, so it's not freezing cold. But I think they'll switch it every year, which would be cool. I'm pushing for Northern Territory though. I think that would be sick next year, the year after next, and I think that would be really cool. But I think a lot of it comes down to tourism. SA is probably spending a fair bit of cash to be able to get all these games over there, and I think the AFL is going, "Yep, we'll take that."
I wouldn't worry about weather in Tassie, because next season is going to be underwater. We've got La Ninas sticking around for the next freaking half a decade. So see you, son. We don't get that anymore. I might be moving up to...
Can you imagine how pissed people are going to be if Victoria is the next place people play at?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
People will lose their mind. Will lose their effing mind. Oh, it'd be great. It'd be hilarious.
Well, we got the...
But Visit Victoria's throwing money at people, though, because they threw all that money at netball to keep them alive. So, who knows? There might be a chance. I'm just saying. There might be a chance.
Do you get a bit antsy? You flick on Twitter that's like melting to the ground, and you see Pendle's at training. He's returned early, and Jordan De Goey and Tom Mitchell, and they're burning up the track with Tay Adams, and every other Collingwood player is already back at it. have a break, boys. Have a rest. Get a life.
Does make me a bit nervous.
Jeez.
Like, wait, hold on. Was I supposed to be back last week? Oh my God.
I'd be so one of them ones. It's like, wait, did I have work? What happened? What? What's
Is this still off season?
What's the deal? Like, yeah. So it's exciting because like it popped up on the news the other day, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot. Like, oh yeah, you got that guy now, and oh yeah, that guy's playing for you guys, and it's like, geez, you're actually pretty stacked now. Like, the midfield's looking pretty crazy, and like I just keep thinking of like Tom Mitchell. You just put him back in the guts because he was playing like forward and stuff like last year for the Hawks.
Yeah,
so obviously moving him around, but now it's like chuck him back in, put his head in the furnace, flick it out to Pendles and Nick Dacos and Crispy, these runners, or well, clearly Pendle's not a runner, but elite ball users just to hit these, key forwards on the loose, small forwards down there. You got Jamie and you got Bobby running around and big McStay up there, just McStaying putting the goal square, just clunking big marks and kicking snags and winning flags. And next year will be a cakewalk, won't it?
Oh, nah. I know it says cakewalk in that little theme song we say, but
tried to get
I don't think it's ever going to be a cakewalk, bro. Nah. PC. Got to be humble. Me being American, always humble. No, it'd be interesting, man. It's going to be a great year. It's just, you talk about these people coming in, you got the McStays and the Mitchell and all that kind of stuff, and Mitchell's obviously going to probably go. I would assume go back into the middle, and it's going to be one of those things. He's going to have to share the load with other people, so it'd be a unique thing to see him and how he kind of gels with everyone else, and how many touches he does get, because he is a person that does get a lot of the ball. But it'd be interesting to kind of see how we use that to our advantage and going forward into the forward line and everything else, and see how everyone gels up. But it's good to see Pendles, Tay, Tom, all of them getting together and sorting their stuff out. So whenever I get there, I can just waltz right in, just go, yep, you boys just get there. You got it sorted. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll see you later, mate. I'll just jog back into the defensive 50, take a few marks, and then, you boys just keep doing your thing.
Yeah. What do you need to go back early for? It's see ball, tap ball. It's not that hard, is it?
Exactly. Hopefully all the midfielders have it all sorted out. So then whenever I get there, I can just slot right in and just sort it and be good to go.
I think one thing that should have you nervous is now you're going to have to run this 400 meters against P-Bowl because Peter
I'm
Bowl.
So nervous.
We put out the challenge and it's got over 2,500 likes or whatever on our Instagram. So it's going to have to happen now. So I hope we got
to make sure we can convince Kurgs to do it. It'll be a whole media thing. The whole team will come out for it, and Bowl will come out and just embarrass the shit out of both of us. But it is. If you haven't listened to the podcast, Peter Bowl, great podcast, the one before, check it out. It is hilarious. He challenges me to an 800-meter run, and that he runs 800. I run 400. Nathan Kruger runs 400. So essentially, Nathan and myself get a dead sprint 400 to try to beat him and running a max capacity 800. And I'm pretty sure we won't be able to even do that, but we have got the challenge. It's been thrown down. We plan on actually executing this. It's going to be a good time. And yes, like I said before, I'm very nervous because that's going to be an embarrassing defeat if one guy can beat two professional athletes.
And it gets more interesting because if you split it in half, you basically have to run 52 seconds each for the 400. So that's
pretty fast.
Yeah, I don't know if that's challenging or not because I haven't run 400 in a lot of years. But someone in the comments wrote, I saw Nathan Kruger run a 447 seconds.
What?
So he can do it. He said
47 seconds.
Yes. So
he said, so what does that give me? That gives 57. Me 6 extra seconds, so 59. So
59 seconds.
I'm doing 59 seconds. I got to get mine done in 59 seconds.
So
it's 53 seconds each we have to run.
52.
Oh, 52. So I got 58. I've got to run it in 58. No, yeah. I've done the math wrong. Fuck.
Hopefully your running's better than your math.
Krugs is running 47. So we both have to run 52.
Yeah, so you're 57, right? 57. Yeah. So you got to run it in 57.
57. I have to run.
So you get an extra 5 seconds.
457 seconds.
Yeah.
Cheers, Krugs.
That's if Krugs runs his PB. He's going to run his PB, and then you just have to run out of your skin. It doesn't sound like you have the confidence to run it. 57 seconds. 57 seconds.
57 seconds is pretty quick. But you know what I will be doing before that? I will be giving a case of orange Fanta to Pitbull just before he runs to make sure I can try to slow him down just a little bit.
Yeah, get him all gassed up. I like that. All right. Well, I think
get him all carbonated.
I think that's it. I think we've nailed all the topics. We got the water cooler chat in there, so people won't go panicking now when they go to work and don't have anything to talk about. Got the news in there. We got if you need a job, go hit Snoop up. Yeah, go check out the Florida Man out in the Glades on our Instagram. Very interesting and long podcast today, but a very enjoyable one. So what's next for you? Where are you off to?
I'm in Austin for the week and then head back to Dallas on Thursday or Friday, see the rest of the family. Thanksgiving dinner, we're doing it a week early so I can do it. And then I'll be flying back to Australia the 20th and should be landing the 22nd. Ooh. And then I leave the 23rd. I go up to the Northern Territory. I go up to a place called Groot Island, which is a beautiful, beautiful spot off East Arnhem Land to go fishing. And hang out with a good friend of mine up there, maybe do a bit of Indigenous work. I'm not sure yet, still organizing, but going up there to have an amazing life experience before I head back to Melbourne and just get stuck into training in preseason, which would be good. I
still want to see what goes into a Thanksgiving dinner / lunch. So you got to film that one and send us back some pics. I want to see Phil on the grill. I gotta.
Filthy Phil might deep fry a turkey. Who knows? He goes all out. He either smoke a turkey for like 24 hours or deep fry. And he's got one of those big deep fryers that are like literally just a vat. And I've seen him do it before. And you just like put the full turkey into the vat, and that thing just goes. You ever seen it? If you ever get time, you're bored. Go look up literally fryer like fires. And it is just Christmas turkeys or Christmas ham. Someone's trying to fry it, and just the whole place just catches on fire. It's wild. It's unique to say the least. But
you totally don't need to deep fry a turkey.
Thanksgiving goes.
You don't need to be doing.
But we're in Texas. You need to do everything. Everything needs to be big. But no, it's going to be. I'll definitely make sure I'll send back some photos and videos. And I actually have a Friendsgiving whenever I get back to Australia, so I'll double up on Thanksgiving this year, which is going to be very, very good.
Good for the skinnies.
I'll keep you updated with how the deep fried turkey goes, brother.
Too easy. Well, you're going to wrap us up. I think people miss your 7 platforms.
To wrap us up, ladies and gentlemen, follow us, like, comment, subscribe. The biggest thing is subscribe. I'll be honest with you. Subscribe so you can get a little ding notification that shows that we have a new episode out. So every time we have someone else that comes on and we have one of these catch-ups, you can definitely have it ready to go in your different accounts that you listen to this podcast on. Check it out. So subscribe, like, comment. We want to get as much fan engagement as possible. Tell us exactly some of your crazy stories. We need to get some of these embarrassing stories from our followers and our listeners. So send those in. Check it all out. But it's 7 platforms. We've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. Like I said, like, subscribe, everything on those. Let's help this thing grow, and really excited for the future of this thing. It's got some exciting news. I've been teasing this for a while, and until I come back to Australia, we might have a little special podcast that kind of explains what I've been talking about. But it's going to be a great time. It's going to be an amazing experience. Share it with all your friends. Get some funny stories that we can talk about. We'll even get you on the pod. We can get your voice recorded on the pod. You can listen to yourself, tell some funny stories that we can riff off of, and it's going to be a good time. But like I said, follow us, like, subscribe, everything on the 7 platforms. And without further ado, I will see you next time. Check out our previous episodes. They're hilarious. Peace.